Hello and welcome. In this entirely fabulous episode, I complain a lot while I make this very, very fabulous and over the top floral jacket out of lots of different yellow and lemon flowers and some foliage.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So I ended part one where I made the jacket with this shot. And but I also, as I was stepping, I sort of stepped back a little and I was like, you know what? I should probably pull that jacket apart and make the collar like 1 inch or so further from the neck, just so that, because there's going to be, the flowers that are going to be on it are quite large. And I just don't want them to, I don't want to end up looking like a big ball of flowers. I want that silhouette to be sort of more classic. So yeah, you can see it in this shot. It's the collar line is now quite far away from the neck. So normally these jackets, if they're done on social media, people just sort of grab a glue gun and 150 flowers and they sort of stick them down anywhere, and they usually use a bunch of different colors. But I have decided that I'm going to do maybe 5 or 6 jackets, and each of them is going to be one color. So this is the yellow one, and it's going to also, I'm going to use up some of my bead clusters because I like the weight that they give a jacket. And also I have like 56 yellow ones, and they took me so long to make. So yeah, I really, really want to use them up, and they're actually really beautiful. And yeah, as I said, I also love the weight. I was originally going to use them in that Chanel, banana Chanel. It's it's self-explanatory. It sort of looks like the skin of a banana with the brown and all the different yellows and the spots of green. And this is a grouped one. So floral jackets, how they're normally made is just a mix of stuff. But yeah, I've decided I'm going to do mine in groups of different types of flowers. So yeah, I've sorted out all my flowers into different groups. So I've got a few jonquils over at the end there, some gerbera daisies in the lemon. Then I've got these big, beautiful peonies in a bright buttercup yellow. Then I've got some full-size daffodils, and they are just so adorable. Then I've got only a few of these really, really beautiful tulips. Then I've got this yellow stuff with wood stems that's called forsyth. Then some double daisies and some smaller daisies. And or those ones are called glasshouse chrysanthemums as well. Then there's those lemon daisy-ish ones, and then a couple of sprigs of wildflowers, and then more of the jonquils, which are basically just a tiny little daffodil. Yeah, so these are pretty much all. Oh, and then I've got the dandelion flowers. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'll use them, because the good thing about those ones is the stem. So yeah, I'm not sure how I'll use them. Anyway, I also have some sequins and some beads in flowers, and some tropical leaves, some begonia leaves, and I'm not sure I'm going to use the reddish tropical ones. I think I'll leave them aside for the moment, because I've got this autumn harvest jacket in mind, and I think they would be perfect for that. It's sort of oranges and burgundies, so I think I might use a couple of the reddish yellow ones in this, but mainly just the yellow and green ones and all the full-on green ones. So yeah, I also have one ladybug glass bead. It's handmade, but I think I'll save that for the one where I'm using red and hot pink flowers. So anyway, because I am using my bead clusters, I have to put them on first because they're the heaviest thing and they're going to anchor the whole jacket. So I now have hours and hours and hours of fun. So what I have to do is pin back use pins and pin back all the sort of extra netting around the base, and I have to pin back that safely and stitch it all down. So this is me doing that too, almost 60 bead clusters. Oh, so much fun. So yeah, after the first few, I just decided to pin them all because there's a real knack to folding and it actually staying there. So I pinned them all, and then I stitched them all down. And then the next step was me just getting some of this beige, the latte coloured net, sort of tulle netting, and I cut it into squares, and then I wrapped each one carefully like a little present. I just have a couple more to go. I'm almost done. And once these are done, I used the latte because, well, I didn't have any yellow I've got some expensive tulle and I didn't have any yellow in that. And this was the least visible one, and that, all the beads still look very yellow and true to their colour. So yeah, as you can see, I've just got a few more to go. So I am going to watch yet another episode of the old TV show I'm watching, and I will finish these up. And just like that, they are done. So many of them. There ended up being 60, so I divided them into 6. So 10 will be for the left arm, 10 right arm, 10 front left, 10 front right, and then the last 20 will be on the back, and just so that the weight is evenly distributed, but I'm very proud of them. So, I also edited the first section. So I realized I forgot to call out the hibiscus flowers. And I've also got 3 Californian poppies. And yeah, so they're in the mix as well. You probably spotted them if you have an eagle eye. So yeah, and as I was editing this, as I was making the video, I was too busy sort of making it to notice how much I liked this image. And yeah, I took a screenshot and I just love it. It just reminds me of those, summer cottage gardens where everything is in full bloom and the flowers are so heavy. The heads of the flowers are so heavy, they sort of fall over onto the path. And yeah, they're sort of in relaxed groups, and the weeds, or other wildflowers, if they happen to grow up, then they're not weeded out. They're sort of still in there. So that's what I really, really fell in love with this screenshot. And I did have a really clear idea originally of what I wanted to do with this jacket. I was going to have tulips come round the side of the left side of the neck and sort of down into the jacket, and then have tropical leaves at the hip on that side, and then have some big beautiful peonies or roses on the other side to sort of balance it out, and mostly put the gerber daisies at the back. But then the Schiaparelli had their couture collection, and it had all these flowers in it, and the flowers are incredibly expensive, and the actual flowers are absolutely gorgeous. I assume that the business people who run Schiaparelli and greenlight what each collection is going to be about had in mind the Yves Saint Laurent collection from 1988. The embellishment is done by Lesage, which is the best embroidery house in Paris and therefore the world. Well, that's what most people think anyway, and in the Western world. And these jackets are exquisite, and at the time they cost $100,000 each, because everything is hand done, absolutely everything. And it was they were incredibly important, not just artistically, but from a business perspective, because this is the first time people who run museums sort of looked at fashion as an artistic investment or a commercial investment, not just some pretty historical dresses that they should collect. These were significant works in their own right that would bring in patrons and the general public. So they're important for a lot of reasons, but reasons, but business people in particular love them and think they're iconic just because of what they meant financially to the to fashion as an industry. So yeah, that's what I think the money people had in mind when they greenlit this concept for the most recent Schiaparelli show. And I mean, look at those Lesage flowers. There's not many people in the world who could make something that absolutely gorgeous. Granted, they did start with incredibly expensive beads and sequins and other materials, but they are just divine. But yeah, what the Schiaparelli creative designer made all these, like the people who work with these things are artists. They've spent decades honing their skill. And yeah, it was such a disappointing collection. I mean, the best seamstresses in the world made this exquisite velvet coat, and the flower makers made, they're the best in Paris and therefore the best in the world. And they made these handmade, these gorgeous, gorgeous flowers. And yeah, the creative director forced them to just dump everything together in this horrid way. Anyway, yeah, so now I've sort of really turned off the idea of structured, clustered groups, and I want something sort of more free form. So I have completely changed the way I'm going to build this jacket. I'm not going to sew on all the bead clusters first. I've divided the bigger flowers, into 2 lots. And what I'll do is sew on, I think I'll sew a little bit of greenery around the edges first, just so that it looks like those flower beds sort of spilling out. And then, yeah, it just means that I don't have to have the flowers right along the actual edge of the jacket, which it will give it better definition. So yeah, I'll put on half the flowers, and then I'll add the weight of the 60 bead clusters. Then I'll go back and add more greenery, and then I'll add the second half of the flowers. And then, yeah, I'll add the smaller ones in between. So they're like the weeds growing out in between the flowers. That is the plan. So I'll begin.
There she is. I love this jacket. It is such a clean and simple silhouette. It's beautiful. And I think I'm going to buy myself some plain black tweed and make myself one. My Chanel jacket is the only plain black one I have at the moment. But anyway, here it is. I've started attaching the leaves. I just sort of stitch them on 1 stitch at a time from the back. So it's very painstaking and laborious, and it's taking forever, but yeah, this is how it is. And as you can see, I sort of pin some pieces on. Some you can sort of hold through the jacket, but some you have to pin in place. And I said back, I mean the back's like the inside of the jacket, not the back. That was a bit confusing. But anyway, yeah, I love these little African violet leaves, and yeah, I just think it's a great mix of things. These clovers are my absolute favorite at the moment. There's 3, and I've sort of stretched the 3rd stem out to sort of sit right on the shoulder. And so this is just the ground cover. All the flowers are sort of going to be over the top of this. So yeah, and it looks better from the side than from the front at the moment. So I might add more just down the front edges. Yeah, but overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I've been staring at these tulips, and they're quite big and bulky. So I'm thinking of, so if you sort of put your hand inside it and squish it out, and yeah, I think if I stitch down each of the petals one by one, I could sort of hold it out. It's really trendy at the moment to sort of fold back the petals of tulips and roses one by one, and yeah, it sort of looks like a completely different flower. It doesn't really look like a tulip anymore. So I'm thinking of doing that, maybe.
Anyway, it is time to get back to the slow process of attaching all the greenery. Okay, greenery attached. Well, some more, not all of it. And yeah, I got into those tropical leaves and yeah, I mean, it's still it's a bit chaotic, isn't it? It's a bit messy. I love the back. I love it so much. I'm kind of planning on doing just a greenery one. So, yeah, I think I might keep some aside for that. And anyway, I went ahead and just sort of popped some flowers on just to see what it looks like. And oh my God, this is so messy. I absolutely hate it. I think I've been looking at like hundreds of floral jackets, and they're all like on supermodels. Supermodels are the size of professional sportsmen. They're huge and they've got really broad shoulders. So I think I just forgot how tiny my jackets are. So yeah, all the flowers look giant on them. I did try the gerbers in a group and that looked hideous. Then I tried this in a group and then this one sort of, I just do not like this at all. We are not doing a grouped one. No, this looks terrible. I think it's the Forsyth that's doing it for me. Those small flowers in bunches, they just look so bedraggled. Also, the background isn't helping. So I cleaned everything off my sideboard and I took all the flowers off and I'm just going to start again. I mean, I guess I could even take the greenery off, but I just took so long stitching it all on, and I don't actually mind the greenery. It's quite cute. I mean, it's a bit chaotic, but it's still lovely. And yeah, I think I'll leave that on. I just have to sort of remind myself why the hell I started this jacket in the first place. Okay, here's that screenshot that I love. Okay, what I love here is the contrast and between the lemon and the buttercup ones. I love the contrast of the different colours. I guess that's why when people make them, they use all different colour flowers. What I also love is that you can see so much green between each big flower. And I also love that there's little ones in there and you can see the dandelion leaf. So I love that sort of weed just sort of popping out and hanging there and, just mingling. But yeah, I guess I love that each flower has room to breathe. That said, I still really, really want to use up almost everything. So yeah, let's have a look at the flowers. Okay, well, I do love those lemon gerber daisies, just as long as, there's only one, not a whole bunch of them together. And I absolutely love the peonies in that deep buttercup orange, yellow. And I love the daffodils. I love them so much. Forsyth, yeah, it's just looking really messy. Not sure about that, but I do love the jonquils. Absolutely love these tiny things. I mean, I could sort of put aside most of the tiny ones and then just make a whole jacket out of all the different coloured tiny ones. That would be cool. I might do that, just use a token amount of the tiny ones in this and save the rest for another jacket. Yeah, I think that would be good. I mean, I also have bluebells in like actual blue, but I think I want to keep this as just yellow and lemon. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll just start by putting on, collecting all the big ones and putting them on so that there's a lot of space to breathe between each of them. And then I'll put little sprigs of small ones and the bead clusters in between, I think. And you'll be able to see the greenery, but you won't be able to see through the jacket. Yeah. I think I'll start with these tulips. I'll put one on the back and sort of open it out, it's like pinning it to a dissection board. So yeah, I'll just do it and I'll show you. Okay, I have attached the first tulip in this sort of dissection way, and I think it's pretty cool. It's you can see the stitches and the workings. Like I had to put some beads in as well to make sure everything's secure and it all held down. But yeah, all up, I think it's good. It's so big. Like I have really tiny shoulders and a very tiny head, so it's a bit of a concern, but I like them. So first I did the outer layer, then I did the second layer of 3 petals, then I did the third layer, which is slightly smaller 3 petals, and finally I did the inner layer. And then I felt like I had to add some beads in the middle because it was a bit ugly with all the sort of mechanics of how the flower holds itself up. So I sort of did a bit of beading in there, and yeah, they really do look like water lilies more so than any other type of flower. But yeah, so after I did that one, then I tried to attach one of the Gerbera daisies, and that was a disaster, then a peony. And now I've pinned another tulip. This one's slightly smaller. It's only got 3 layers, so that will be interesting. But yeah, this is what it looks like so far, and I'm liking it. As I said, when I did the first tulip, I used seed beads to sort of cover some of the stitches, and this one I think I'm going to use bugle beads, so those long thin beads, and sort of make it look like it's part of the flower, hopefully. And then I'll add a couple more big ones, and then I'll start on the front and the arms, and we'll just get that screenshot, the reference shot. Yeah, I think it's shaping up. It's going to take a few layers of adding lots of flowers, but I like that there's different levels. I think that's what I really, really loved about this one, that yeah, not everything's one uniform generic height or color. So yeah, I think it's getting there. Oh no, I realized I forgot to take a photo before I pinned the other one up. That sort of ruins the surprise. So yes, I finished this one, and as you can see, this is the first one I did, which is very experimental. And to pin the petals down, I used seed beads, SWD. And then, yeah, on this most recent one, I used bugle beads, and it looks so much better. Perhaps not in an extreme close-up, but as a whole, the jacket looks so much better when I use the bugle beads. So I've decided that's my model, and I'm going to do it that way for the rest of the tulips. So I've pinned one on the back, which you saw, and now I'm pinning more on the front. And yeah, doing the dissection method, and I will pin all the petals down. This was just a rough way to get an idea of the size and, make sure they're all balanced. Do 3 on the back, 3 on the front, and 1 on each sleeve. And yeah, I love them. They sort of look a lot like daylilies, actually. Not the right size. But anyway, once I've done those, then I will pin down the rest of the peonies, because, yeah, it's much more important to get the tulips right first. And then, yeah, but I love the peonies. They're fabulous. See, I've pinned down that tulip, and they just look, I'm getting better at it. I definitely think I am. And they look lovely. That peony is my favourite peony at the moment. And I've also added a few of the gerberas because I'm, rather determined to use them up too. I'm not sure about this peony here. I just have I don't want to have one right at my chest level where creepy people can sort of lean in and leer and pretend to smell it. It's just, ugh. Yeah, I was on TV as a child, and so I've been putting up with adults being very, very creepy towards me for many decades now. So yeah, I just sort of try to do what I can to guard against it. Obviously, no one can control the behavior of others, but yeah, I definitely have to try and do as much as I can. But anyway, so yeah, I've pinned all these tulips into place, and actually I just found a couple more peonies. So I'm going to move one of the tulips, which is on the left sleeve. I'm just going to move that up a teensy bit because the peonies are sort of rounder. They have more volume on top of them. So I think they'll be better at the sort of wrist, like at the actual cuff, and the tulip will work better sort of more on the forearm. So yeah, and this is what it looks like, and this is what the other side looks like. Oh, that tulip and those peonies, I love this combination. Obviously, once the daffodils are put on too, they will add more volume and, different levels. And then I'll have the small ones, and then the sequin ones will also add sort of volume and visual interest. But after I've sewn on all the big ones, the next step will be to add the bead clusters. And I've just perched one up the top there so you can see the size of them. And they will add a lot of much needed weight, because this jacket is incredibly light, and it is so difficult to work with something where, gravity is not on your side. It just sort of floats away if you're not holding it correctly. And trying to hold like a flower to the layer of fabric from underneath while you're sort of sewing it and attaching it from the top. Oh, it is a challenging task, and I have to do it for every single flower. And you also have to obscure your thread with beads, so you have to sort of thread the needle with beads as well, while you're also holding everything else and juggling that with the other hand. It is quite a task. Okay, that's quite enough of me complaining. It is now time for me to slowly, carefully, and very laboriously sew each of these flowers down. So I think I'll start with the sleeves. I'll leave it on the dress form, and I think I'll just do the ones around the cuff first until I get a few of them done. And that way, I won't have to worry about sort of balancing the whole thing. If I leave it on the dress form, it's sort of, some of them are actually like I just stuck the pins in to get those last few top petals of the tulips down. So the safest way forward, I think, is just to, leave the jacket on the mannequin and stitch down like the peonies at the cuffs. If I have a decent number of flowers actually attached, then I'll just start carefully unstabbing the mannequin with the few pins that are in it at the moment, and do the rest. Hours of fun, hours and hours. Spoiler alert, leaving the jacket on the mannequin did not work. Who could have foreseen it? So, I did have to unstab the mannequin and carefully sort of reposition each of the pins before I could take the jacket off the mannequin and work at the workbench. So as you can see, I still haven't done much on the right side, but on the left side here, I started on the cuff of the sleeve and sort of worked my way up to the forearm sort of elbow area, and sort of attached one big flower, and then I attached two, I think, and then I was like, as I was working, I sort of saw the exact spots that would be, aesthetically and structurally the perfect spots for where the bead clusters should go. So I would attach one flower, then I'd use the next thread to attach a bead cluster, and then I did another flower, and then I did a bead cluster. And it's you sort of have to grip each particular thing. Like if it's a big fragile flower, you have to hold your hand a certain way for like 5 minutes, whereas if it's a bead cluster, which is heavy and much smaller, you have to hold your hand a certain way for like 5 minutes. So it was kind of good alternating between the two. And again, you sort of have one hand sort of inside this really, really thin sleeve. I think, note to self, next time I do this, I'm going to make the sleeves wider, I think. But and these, look, those are drops of my blood. So I guess I'm going to have to cut them out. I don't know, because Lee Alexander McQueen, the amazing designer, when he was first starting out, he couldn't afford to get labels made for his first few collections. So the labels for those collections are like a plain bit of fabric, then a lock of his hair, and then some like plastic stitched around the top to keep it in place. So the collectors and the museums who have those pieces actually have the creators
DNA, and I think that's pretty cool. But also pretty creepy, I guess. But yeah, anyway, so back to the jacket, and yeah, so I was stitching on one flower, then stitching on a bead cluster, and this is what it looks like underneath. Excuse the messy threads. I haven't had time to cut them all yet. I sometimes it's more secure if you just leave them a little bit longer. So, but obviously I also want it to be cleaner. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'll do about that. But yeah, as you and throughout this video, you've probably been hearing, well, you've definitely been hearing me complaining about how lightweight this jacket is. And you've probably been wondering why on earth I use something so lightweight. Like, why didn't I make a tweed jacket or a something, you know, a heavy canvas one and sew into that? The thing is, this couture Chanel collection of floral jackets, coats, and that blue bolero. Yeah, this is what I fell in love with when it comes to floral jackets. Before that, like, I don't know, some with my frame, like I don't have big shoulders and I'm not particularly big tall, you know, person. So yeah, wearing fluffy jackets or floral jackets are sort of, it's very easy for me to look like a ball of flowers. But yeah, as soon as I saw this Chanel collection with all these gorgeous, gorgeous Lesage flowers and all the embellishment, I was just like, oh, I have to try and make something like that. And the thing with these jackets is that they're super light. And yeah, so that's why I made this ultra lightweight jacket. And the only weight being the beads that are on it. And yeah, I just love that look, and that's kind of what I'm going for.
Anyway, back to the beading and flower attaching that I'm doing at the moment. So in this bit of footage here, the top tulip on the left side is still only slightly attached and mostly pinned. And yeah, I've just sort of started on this side, and I decided to get a little bit more experimental because I was kind of getting more confidence because I've already done like 5 or 6 flowers on the front by this point, and on the left side. And yeah, I started using these glass, they're like an inch long bugle bead. They are amazing. As soon as I bought them, I was like, oh, these are going to be the stems of a flower or something like that. And yeah, so I've sort of been using them to hold the, instead of pinning each petal right down to the jacket level, this holds them up so and creates a canopy so I can put other flowers and other greenery underneath. It's like a little secret mini forest. And yeah, I'm loving this. So do more of this.
There's still lots to stitch down here, obviously. And yeah, I should get to work on that. I'm kind of worried that I'm getting a little too excited with the bead clusters. I hope I don't go overboard with them and then have to take some out or something like that. So yeah.
And now you can see that I have actually finished that top tulip on the left side of the jacket. And yeah, so I put in more of those green glass extra long bugle beads. And so it looks like the tulip is just the tips of each petal have been sort of opened and folded over. So yeah, normally I put lots of beads in this middle of the each tulip, but I just put some mini jonquils in there. I'm not sure. I think I'll leave it empty, like no beading, no flowers. These are the mini jonquils that I used in another spot. This is the left cuff, and yeah, so sort of the inner sleeve, and as you can see, I've used tropical leaves on the bit of the sleeve that will brush against my hip as I'm walking, and then I just sort of had to use a couple of tiny little jonquils to fill a gap, and I think they work there, but I don't think they'll work on the tulip. Maybe, I don't know. Then there are the gerbras. Oh my God, I am starting to passionately hate the gerbras because when you stitch them down, that center bit is just a big glob of plastic with this dusty stuff glued to it. So as you try and stitch it down, it just molts everywhere and the dusty stuff just goes everywhere. So yes, I'm deep in a passionate hatred of them at the moment. And I was thinking, well, should I just cut them all off? What should I do? And so just as a last resort, I guess, I put these bead clusters on top of some of the gerbera daisies and they look awesome. They look so good. But I mean, it's one thing to just plonk something on top of something else, but it's another to be able to stitch it down. So I've got a couple of gerbras on the back of the jacket. So I think I'll do a test one on one of those and see if the bead clusters look any good once they've actually been sewn down on top of the gerbras, because basically I have to pull out the plastic bit from the front and pull out the plastic bit from the back, then stitch everything down and then stitch the bead cluster on top. So yeah, I mean, it'll be awesome if it works, but yeah, I won't hold my breath on that one. And there's a couple of other things, like this peony needs a couple of its petals stitched down a little bit too. So yeah, I'm at the point where I can just see all the things that I have to do that are still not done. So yeah, I think I should just go and take a coffee break and then yeah, just start doing things slowly one by one instead of just racking up all the things of or making all the mental lists of all the millions of things I have to do, because it's a bit overwhelming. There's just so much left still that isn't done. But that said, I do like the way it's shaping up, and I like that there's areas where it's really full of flowers, and then there's some areas that are just going to be greenery and some areas that are just going to be like the actual jacket and not much else. So yeah, I think it's cool that I'll be able to bend my elbow right up without crushing any flowers. I think that's really cool. That's an accidental find that I'm going to keep. So yeah, I just have to keep working away at it. And if the bead clusters on the gerbera thing works, that will be absolutely awesome. That will solve the problem of the shedding centers of those gerberas, which is just a nightmare at the moment. Something I completely didn't foresee, but yeah. And then I still have all the medium and large, medium and little small flowers to go as well, and the sequins. Okay, really is time for a coffee break. And we'll be back once the whole jacket is stitched down with big flowers. I went ahead and sewed some of the gerberas on with the bead cluster in the middle, and so they kind of look like a really big daisy. And yeah, I think it looks really good. I've only done two, one on the right sleeve and one on the right, sort of at the bottom of the rib cage. And yeah, the rib cage one looks a bit funny because I still haven't done all the bead clusters on that side. But yeah, this is what I had to do. You sort of have to take the big green plastic bit off the back and then take that molting horrible thing off the front, and yeah, and then sort of pin everything, and then yeah, so it was complicated but it worked, so I'm very grateful for that. But it's kind of bittersweet because now I have to go back and carefully pull out the threads from the other ones without destroying how the other flowers are stuck down. So yeah, whole saga. Won't bore you with all the graphic details, but yeah, I think this is going to look good. And yeah, as I said, this right side, I still don't have enough bead clusters on there, but I just, I'm running out of the little yellow seed beads, the bright yellow ones that I could use. So I just sort of do these two front tulips, which I really, really need to be done a certain way. And then I'll get back to doing the other big ones on the back. So these ones, as you can see, I've used the bright yellow seed beads. And then, yeah, so now on the back for this one here, I either have to use the fragile beading needle and bead the bugle beads on, like I've done there, or I have to somehow scrounge up some more bright yellow seed beads. I mean, I do have the bead clusters and I could destroy one of those, just sort of cut open and unravel one of those and use all the seed beads from them. But I don't know. The whole point of this was kind of to use up absolutely everything, and I guess I can just pull one apart. I don't know. I'll scrounge around and see if I can find any more bright yellow seed beads. I get the feeling don't have any more on hand, but we'll see. I really am so happy with the way these gerbera daisies turned out. They really do look more like daisies now. And yeah, they're adorable. And I also get to use up the fattest of the bead clusters. I won't be walking around like this with my wrists out so that you can just see their gerberas. But yeah, I think they're very cute. Well, I'm off to find more seed beads and or destroy a bead cluster. I did end up cutting into and pulling apart one of the bead clusters. I ended up using one of the golden yellow ones rather than one of the super bright yellow ones. And I put all its contents to good use. I took I also did a lot. I took the 2 gerberas off this cuff, and also I think maybe a peony. I think that's where that one came from. And I also took the 3 little jonquils off, and I re-beaded the tulip, which, I've got a photo of a daylily. That is from Robert Cunningham over on Instagram. And yeah, so this is the back, and I am loving the ivy. I'll just pop a picture in of what it looked like before I put the ivy on. Oh, sweetie, I love you, but you were a mess. And you can see I also added a daffodil, a full-size daffodil up in the top. And yeah, I also added quite a few small flowers. And yeah, just sort of, I feel like, yeah, just a few. I think there's 3 sprigs of ivy leaves, and they break it up so well. And of course I've added the 3 hibiscus as well. This one was the 3rd one, obviously. I've got fancy with the 1-inch green glass beads, and yeah, I really do love that I only put 1 daffodil up the top because I think it needs that space. And yeah, if I have really, really long hair, and I've put some up at the top of the back, I've put a couple of sequin flowers on stems, and oh my God, I just have to remember to not wear my hair down when I try this jacket on. I just know there's going to be a very big tangled mess if I do. Anyway, apart from that one stupid mistake, yeah, I thought maybe I'll write myself a note and put it on the hanger with it saying, do tie your hair up before you try the jacket on. But I always ignore my own handwriting. Whenever I leave notes around, I'm like, I made it. I'll know whatever it is. And then, yeah, I'll try it on. And anywho, so yeah, I also took a lot of stuff off the sleeves and sort of cleaned them right down. So I have 1 gerbera left. I think I'll use that on the front, maybe. And but apart from that, I've utilized just about everything. So yeah, there's 3 hibiscus on the back, and I've got 5 left. And yeah, I couldn't use the stems of them because of the way you have to secure the flower. You sort of have to take out the stem and put in a series of beads and sequins just to hold it down. So yeah, and those are the centers of the gerberas. Ugh, I'm not going to burn them, but I wish I could. So yeah, this is what it looks like at the back from far away, and I really like it. I mean, there are sort of green areas at the top there, I guess, but yeah, as I said, my hair is, even when it's up in a bun or up in a ponytail, it's still pretty much will obscure the top of the back. But yeah, so this is the sleeves, and yeah, as you can see, I still haven't done all the gerbras, but I've sort of placed them right. So yeah, this is where I'm thinking I'll put the that last gerbera. Maybe, I don't know. It's just I need the weight because this side had like I only used up about half, not even half of the bead clusters. This side has 8 or 9 of them on there, or when you count the gerbera, it's 9. And this side over here only has a couple, like it has one in a gerbera and then like 3 others, I think. So yeah, I think I'm leaning towards a gerbera simply because it will use up another bead cluster. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking anyhow. And I still have 3 gerberas on that sleeve. So it's going to add weight, but it's not the same as it being on the front. So yeah, and I think adding the lightness of the gerbera there will make it better. And I've also got these little ones, tiny little lemon ones. And yeah, I ran out of yellow flower sequins, so I've started using the orange ones. And I think they look really cute in the little pastel daisy type things. And I've done a few on the other side as well. And yeah, so I really need to do the edges. And I think I'll put some variegated leaves in there, not just all flowers. I mean, I do have some dark leaves still, but they're a lot bigger. So that's why I'm thinking the lighter, the two-tone variegated ones might be better on the edge. I also have quite a few of the hedge leaves, like, yeah, I've got a big, longer one and a sort of spiky, shorter one. So yeah, and this is just me going right around the jacket, sort of turning it around. It's on a box so that it's up at the right height. And like the mannequin stand is on a box and the box is only just big enough to fit the feet of the mannequin. So yeah, it was rather precarious turning it around. But yeah, so as you can see, there's still quite a lot to go. But I've also done quite a bit. Oh, this jacket is just taking so much time. I think part of it is the fabric, the really, really fine fabric I used on as the jacket. And also part of it is it's a prototype, like I've never done, and I've never seen any sort of jacket with beading on it and flowers before. And it's also difficult because it's so small. Like, you know, on other jackets I've seen, there's hundreds of flowers on them and you can sort of mix and match to your heart's content. You just have so much more room to play, whereas the back of this, I've got like 10 flowers on it and it was done. So yeah, if you don't get them right, then it's a real problem. You sort of have to pull everything off and rearrange everything. So it's also difficult sewing stuff on the arms because basically I've made them so thin, all you can do is put your arm in them and yeah, not like put your hand out flat or bunch your hand up and hold things. You're just supposed to put your arm straight through them and nothing else. So yeah, next jacket I make is going to have very, very wide arms, sleeves for shoresies. Well, here she is, Little Miss Sunshine, still not finished. Will it ever be done? Is the question I'm yelling to the wind at the moment. It's I've obviously done a lot more. I've put those double daisies or the glass house sunflowers in at the front, and I really like those. I think there's 5 flowers in that side, in the left top bit, and I've got enough for 2 more clusters, so I'm just sort of figuring out where they'll go. But yeah, I added a few more. I've only got a couple more big flowers. Oh, this is where I figured out how you turn your jacket into a cartoon, and then I turned it back. And yeah, I'm a little over this jacket. It's just so much work. And yeah, I can just see how much more work there is to go But on the other hand, it does look beautiful. There are those glasshouse chrysanthemums, and there's those more of those little pastel ones. And this is the arm, and yeah, I think those sort of whitish ones look good there. I was a bit worried about them. And this is the back, which you've already seen. I need a little bit of height up on this shoulder. So yeah, I've got one peony and one hibiscus left, and that's it, of the big flowers. So yeah, I have to be very selective in how I attach them and where I put them. And then we're coming back around to the front here, and these gerbers turned out so beautiful. They yeah, I think one of the things I love most about that original reference pic that I took, the screenshot that I took a million years ago, was yeah, the way the gerbers could look good if they were just sort of slightly separated, but you could sort of see a trail of them. So yeah, they're loosely gripped, and yeah, grouped. So this is what I have left. I still have quite a few bead clusters. I don't think I'm going to get to use them all. And I have that damn forsyth too, so I might try and use that maybe. And I also have the stamen from the hibiscus. I'm kind of determined to use them because they're such a beautiful colour and textures. I have only 3 of the tropical leaves left, and oh, that's my graveyard. I did keep the stems from those little pastel ones, and I'm going to use them on the greenery jacket that won't have flowers. It'll just be all different leaves, because I think they sort of look like seed pods. So anyway, oh, and it was really shitting me that the Chanel box, you couldn't see the C, so you couldn't see the whole word. So I went and I changed that. So I am achieving things. I'm going to finish the jacket now.
Okay, I got sick to death of looking at that white mannequin on the stand with the mustard brown and purple skirts. So I just put a long t-shirt on the hummingbird torso mannequin, and I put the jacket on that, and yeah, it's gone fluffy. I knew this would happen as soon as I used those forsyth flowers, but I went ahead anyway because it was just, I don't know, it was kind of patchy in the wrong way. And the more I work with this fabric, like the jacket it's got this really, really delicate layer of muslin over the 2 layers of netting, and it's not going to age well. It's too fragile, and yeah, I should have used maybe a black cotton lawn if I wanted something really, really thin, or I don't know. Anyway, or maybe a silk. Silks are really, really thin, but they're hardy. So yeah. Anyway, this is what it's looking like so far. And there's so much detail in it, which I'm really, really happy about. I feel like it is still a little bit of a ball, but I do think it's more important to cover the vulnerable fabric than to sort of, yeah, leave gaps for the sake of style. So this is what I have left, a few flowers. I've got some of those plastic things. I've got a decent amount of the bead clusters. And yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and stick it all on, because the tops of the arms and the backs of the arms, yes, you can see I've still got some threads in there. Yeah, this is a forsyth, and I really like the way it's been applied. But yeah, it does make the whole thing look a bit like a fluffy ball. But yeah, so I think I'll just, and this is what the forsyth is like when you pull it apart. There's the flowers, which I've mostly used, the green bit and the stems. I'm going to use those in the greenery jacket, keep them and use them. And yeah, I mean, it's looking okay. It just needs quite a few more at the top and on the insides and the backs of the sleeves. So yeah, I still haven't put that peony around the back of the neck, and you can really tell. But all in all, I guess it's shaping up.
Okay, so there's been an interval of however long, and I've done loads of work. So I attached the peony to the right shoulder and the daffodils around the back and over onto the left front and down the left arm. And yeah, there's still a ways to go. And all the gerbras are now fully attached. Oh my God, that last one on the left side. Clearly, I didn't want to show it to you. I've just added 2 daffodils at the front here on the left, and one of those glasshouse chrysanthemums on the right, just to show you what I'm going to do next. That sort of idea. And I also need to do these front edges, need more. It just doesn't work them being black. I mean, I will probably, in reality, most often wear it with a black or really dark navy t-shirt underneath it. So that's why I put it on a black top on the mannequin just to check. And yeah. So, I mean, it looks pretty fabulous, but I still want to finish it properly. And yeah, I've also tried it on a coat hanger because, well, I do a coat hanger test to just check if the left and the right side are balanced. But also I want to see if it's going to store well in the wardrobe. So I think I'll probably have to hang it on 2 wooden coat hangers. But yeah. Oh, and this is how I attach the petals of the peonies. I put a little chain of bugle beads in there, one in the front and one in the back. So it's always going to sit beautifully. And yeah, then I was obviously a little bit over the stitching part by the time I got around to the daffodils on the back. But oh, look at that little glasshouse Chrissy at the top. Beautiful. And the sleeves, oh my gosh, I absolutely love the sleeves. There's just so many layers of work in there, and you can really see everything. I think the front and the back, because they're sort of flatter, it can be a little bit more difficult to see all the layers and how much is in there. But yeah, on the sleeves, because they're so round and like they're just, yeah, I just love it. I mean, they're a devil to do, absolute devil. And I'm really, really happy with the way the daffodils turned out. They're quite tricky to do, but I think they look really good. The problem is that they do stick out quite a bit. So on one side where I've got the daffodils, the arm sticks out, and then on the other side I've got the peony on the shoulder, so it sort of looks like I've got a hunchback and one arm sticking out. So I need to sort of even out those bits on the silhouettes. But yeah, we are getting there. These are photos I took side, front, and then the other side. Last night, once I'd finished, I did a little bit of work, but here you can clearly see that I've added more of the daffodils, and I don't know, I feel like the silhouette is more even. And yeah, so on one side, on the daffodil side, I put more daffodils in, so it's sort of more of a ball, I guess. And then on the other side, I put more of those glass house chrysanthemums or the double daisies in the front, so the peony doesn't look like such a parrot on the shoulder or a hunchback. And I also filled in so much here, and I put 2 more hibiscus in there. I also broke out the plastic flowers, the plastic beads, sort of flat beads that are in flower shape. And sort of clustered them. So there's some daisy ones near each other and some crocus ones near each other and that sort of thing, just filling in the blanks. So yeah, I'm much happier with this side because it was very, very patchy before I did that. And I also, once I'd done that, I sort of went down the front of, the edge of the jacket and filled in some there. So there's, these yellow ones I think do a good job, but you can't tell because, I should have taken a before and after photo.
Anyway, and this tiny little bluebell, the yellow bluebell there, I'm very proud of that one. It's got 3 small seed beads, then 1 large bright yellow seed bead. So it's got like a little stamen of beads in there. And I just have to do the other side. And also this is the right side, the underarm. I just have to I've pinned a couple of leaves there, but I just have to stitch them down. And I am still worried about it being a ball, but I got out that photo of the Chanel Camellia one that I absolutely adore. If you only look at the silhouette, that's quite a ball as well. But because there's so much definition at the neckline, it just makes it seem so graceful. And I think that's also the saving grace on this yellow one. It sits so far back from the neck. It was also really a really good decision to crop it like those extra 3 inches off the bottom of the jacket and make it shorter. It really gives the waist definition, and you can get away with so much if you just sort of see how slim the neck is and how narrow the narrowest point of the torso is. So yeah, I'm okay with it being a bit of a ball. So I'll just finish the rest of the flowers now. We are on the home straight. Well, here it is. The jacket is finished. Little Miss Sunshine herself. Goodness, this took such a large chunk of my life. I'm so glad it's done. Well, I still have some leftovers. There's those paper ones, and then there's all these sort of scraps of, one of this, one of that. And I also have quite a few of the tropical leaves. They're sort of more of the red ones, but the yellow than the yellow ones. But I thought I might make a hat with the scraps I have left over. So, sort of 1930s, 1940s hat. And that way I'll always wear my hair up in a sort of updo. And and if you think this is too modern, then I've got this picture of this Norman Norwell Dahlia jacket from 1965. And it is. My yellow jacket is very vintage in its own way. And I'm thinking about the pattern because I'm thinking about the next floral jacket I'm making, the sort of Chanel-ish apricot and blue with bits of blue in it one. And I'm thinking about how I'll alter the pattern for that one. And so I thought I'd just compare it to, this is the McCall's pattern. They're both the same base pattern, but I just altered it a bit. So as you can see, the sleeves are a lot longer and I cropped it quite a bit. The yellow one I cropped quite a bit. I think for a bolero style, I might even crop it more. So yeah. And I also really love what I did with the neckline, like cutting it away from the neck. I think I'll do that and maybe try and do it more, or maybe leave it as it is. I'm not sure. Anyway, so let's go back to this one. So I finally finished under the sleeve for the right-hand side. And I think I might have got a little carried away with the plastic flowers on this side. It's sort of, I bulked it up a little too much. Like those exercise guys, they keep overcompensating and over-exercising in one area, then the next and the next. Yeah, there's a sort of do that with beading and now floral jackets too. You sort of add some stuff to one side, then more to the other side, then more to the first side again. And it's a vicious cycle. But, I'm really, really happy with the way it turned out. And I'm so glad I don't have to work on it anymore. I think I just got sick of yellow. When I was a kid, I read this book about this weird town, and every time they got bored, they just painted the entire town a different colour. And the time they painted the entire town yellow, everyone was just super happy, but then they got manic and then they got exhausted. And Lord knows, I think it was like a European, how the Grimm's fairy tales are really quite grim. I think it was sort of that type of fairy tale, and it had just been translated into English or something. But I just found it, anytime I see someone wearing a little bit too much yellow, I'm like, oh, they're going to get super happy, then manic, then tired. So, anywho.
So this is a jacket, and yeah, I just love how much detail there is. Oh, and I forgot to mention, like I've edited and looked over all the rest of the video, and I forgot to mention that I added a few more bead clusters on the inside of the cuff there, and oh, and I cut out the spots of blood as well and threw them away. And yeah, so this is all I have left, and I'm not going to go and make the hat right now because I need a break from all this yellow. I need to do some, I don't know. Well, I guess one of the Chanel tweets that I'm about to work on is sort of vanilla and fluoro yellow, so maybe I'll do one of the other ones first. Anyway, so this is the jacket, and thank you for coming on the journey. I hope I didn't complain too much. I did edit it down to, yeah, there was a lot more complaining in there. Because I just tried so many things and then had to fix so many mistakes. So yeah, it was quite the saga, but gosh, I'm so glad I've done this. And yeah, I'm really proud of the way it turned out. And yeah, it's so pretty. And I love those ivy leaves. I'm glad I didn't overuse them though. I was sorely tempted to just keep adding them. And I fixed the daffodils at the top of the back, and they look lovely now. Well, in my opinion, they do. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. She's lovely. It's such a beautiful, I love these sunflowers. They remind me of the Yves Saint Laurent jacket, coat and jackets from 1988, and the paintings they were based on, obviously. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll I just keep taking photos and footage of it because I can't quite believe that I made this. It's just yeah, I feel like I should have put something better, dressed the mannequin better too. It's just an oversized t-shirt that I've tied down at the waist. So thank you again for watching, and we might see you later on in Chanel month. I have a seeking suspicion that September may also turn into a Chanel month because I know how many jackets of Chanel tweed that I have yet to make and yet to bead. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to get it all done in August since I used half of it to make this down floral jacket. So yeah, maybe September will also be a Chanel month.